Okay, so let's now just make a small change to one of the scripts on the FPS controller. So we're looking for the weapon script. Maybe it's on the player main arms. Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's this weapon script. Let's just double click it to open it. Okay, so we've set something called a wait time. Alright, that is basically controlling this IE numerator at the bottom. We're still going to use that, that's perfectly fine. All we need to do is return this weapon strike back to 0 before we add a major pause. This way it's going to prevent the animation from replaying again and again. Okay, so first of all we need to add another yield. So let's just copy this and paste it in, and this time instead of it being wait time, we're going to give it a really small amount of time, let's say 0.2. It's necessary to give it a small amount of time before resetting the weapon strike, otherwise the initial animation will not play. And then we're just going to take this line, let's just copy it and paste it in between these two. We no longer need this, so let's just delete that line. Okay, so after once we've made the weapon strike, after 0.2 seconds, the weapon strike, it's an integer I think, is set to 0, and then it waits for however long we've told it, and then attack is true, so that then we can launch another attack. Okay, so we're working on the bat at the moment, which is current weapon 2. Okay, and we're saying wait time of about 1.2. Let's just change this to about 1. Okay, so it's a relatively quick weapon. If it's a slow weapon, like let's say the axe, you may want to increase this wait time to something like 2 or maybe 2.5. In fact, 1. I might say 1.5 for this one, and have the gun is on 0.5, and maybe the knife. Where's the knife? Maybe have the knife at like about 1. Okay, 1.0. Since the knife is obviously going to be a little bit quicker than the baseball bat, and the axe I'm going to put as 2.5. Okay, just so that we've got some interesting timing based on weapon choices. Okay, so let's save that. That's the only change that we needed to make there. So what we need to do now is make sure that these weapons can actually damage the enemies. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just click on this FPS controller, and where it says mesh render, I'm just going to uncheck that for the moment, so that we don't see this big capsule, and then I can click on the bat. Okay, now if I click on the baseball bat, just ensure that your LODs are kind of like this. Alright, and you can just click and drag these around, by the way, just to ensure that it is always on LOD 0, which it should be, but it's kind of a fail-safe if you like, because on LOD 0 we're now going to place our trigger object. Okay, so right click, 3D object, and a cube. That comes in really big, so let's just shrink that down. Maybe get it to be just a little bit longer, and then we can obviously move it down here. Now if your arrows are facing in a different direction like that, that's global, just change it to local. Okay, and then let's just put it toward the end of the bat. Now we don't need a mesh renderer on it, so we can remove that. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay, you don't want the entire bat affecting the enemy, just sort of the end of it if you like. And let's make this box collider into a trigger. Okay, and let's rename this. Instead of cube, what should we call this? Should we call it bat damage? Okay, and we do need to give this a specific tag for it to work. So let's add a tag. We'll create a new one, and we will call this one pbat, as in like player bat. So back to bat damage, I'm going to tag it as pbat. So now the enemy is going to recognize whenever I get hit by something that has a tag of pbat, that should start doing me some damage. Okay, so we've created our bat damage cube. let's just make sure that we switch this off to begin with. This should not be on initially until we actually make a strike, and then it should come on. The reason for that is you don't want to be damaging the enemy just generally walking around. Okay, so we're going to switch this on using an animation. So let's just find the player arms. There they are, player main arms. And we're going to click Window, Animation, Animation. And let's just make sure that we click this Bat Strike 1. Okay, and we're actually going to switch that object on just using animation. In this section we're going to be doing a number of elements just using animations, switching objects on and off. We've previously done this through code, but this is also a good way to do it as well, just through using animation. So we're going to press record. Now at the moment when we play this, you can see that's the animation that we're getting. Okay, and feel free just to drag that line around to get it to play slower. Well, we don't want the damage to happen at this point. We only want the damage to happen roughly about there when it's coming back down for a strike. So what we want to do is we want to switch this collider on at this point in the animation. So let's just find our P-bat damage, or bat damage rather, and just switch it on. Okay, and that's right there. It gives us a keyframe. Now if we watch this box, this check box, when we move back, notice it's no longer checked. So in other words, it's switched off to begin with. And then as soon as we reach this point, it switches on. And then when we move forward to about there, okay, just so that the animation has practically come to an end, we can once again, oh, I'm on the wrong one there. On the bat damage, let's just set that one on and then turn it off again. Okay, so that way it remains, it's off at that point, and then it comes on and goes off at that very last frame. So there's just enough time for that to register that it's left the collider in order to reset it using a boolean.